All right, folks. So keep it simple, right? Is that right or is that wrong? We're going to explore that a little bit with regards to training and nutrition. Firstly, thanks for making it onto my channel. If you have any questions or comments about today's video, pop them down below. And if you'd like to work with me on your own strength and physique goals, there is a link in the description. Now, if social media has done anything, it is to make people really, really obsessed with all aspects of their training and their diet, like right down to the minutiae. So back 20 years ago, when the internet was just about coming out and we had a couple of resources online, there wasn't that much obsession over the minutiae. Right now, we have people out there who are obsessing over every single macro, every single part of the diet, the timing of the diet, absolutely everything. So if there's one thing that social media has done is just to let those people out, and they're posting everywhere and we're listening to them and we can't help but be affected by it. So if you, for example, look at the so-called more educated sphere, is the evidence-based sphere of our industry, of the fitness industry, which comprises a very small amount. But you only need to look at us and the name calling and the argumentation about the minor details that's been going on with prominent authors and prominent researchers in the industry. They do it as well. We all do it. We all get caught up in this hype train of arguing over the details. That's kind of the goal of what I want to talk about today, and talk about when and where it's appropriate. So in my experience, over the many years that I've coached now, a lot of people are actually attracted to complex approaches. Just a really weird thing that I've encountered, and it's somewhat frustrating as a coach before I kind of knew how to deal with it. But some people do better with complex approaches. So they need complexity. They need exclusivity in what they're doing. If you set them a challenge to hit X number of macros and calories or whatever per day, and it's not a necessary goal, but it actually gets them up for it. They feel better doing that. They get more motivated doing that, which is really strange. So they really want these almost unachievable targets to hit because it increases their adherence. Other people, they just want the basics, and I coach a wide variety of people and from both groups. So the question is, how much actual detail do you need? How simple do you need to keep it? How much complexity do you need? Now, the long and short of this video is, just to give you a bit of an insight into where I'm going to go with this, is that ultimately, if your goals are quite moderate, like if you're going from, I don't know, 40% body fat to 30%, or if you need to just lose 5 or 10 pounds, you don't need that much complexity. Okay, if your goals are fairly moderate, you're good to go. You don't need much. Just the usual, eat less, make better food choices, move around more, do some lifting weights. That's really about as complicated as it gets. Now, if your goals are more intense relative to you, that's when you need more complexity. So let's say, for example, you've lost 20 pounds in the past, you've gained it all back again. Let's say you've been stuck at a certain body weight for ages and you just bounce up and down. That's when you're going to need help. Let's say there's a plateau that you just can't get past. That's when you need help. Or let's say your training is just not working out. You've been stuck at a bench plateau for ages. That needs working out. That needs more complexity. And I'll give you an example from when I was younger. I was stuck on, I've said it before, I was stuck on a 90 kilo bench for ages while I was a competitor. And it took me ages to break past the 100 kilo barrier. And it required complexity. That's a story I'll go into another day of what happened there. But it required complexity. So it required me to reach out to somebody, a probably very popular coach at the time. He gave me some advice and I implemented that. And I changed my fundamental view on things. And that's how I was able to progress and hit the numbers that I was. So that's the long and short of it. Now, here's what I noticed. So with the first group of people, these are the keep it simple people, right? These people need to keep things simple. So many people that come to me, they have never really had that much interest in diet before, or they've just done things really badly, like they've done, a lot of fad diets. They'll come to me and I'll implement some easy to enact changes, just some simple stuff to do with diet, and they'll just fly with it. So they'll drop 5 or 10 pounds in short order and they're very happy and they're like, great. So for those group of people, keeping it simple is really the most effective thing that they need to do. They don't have particularly massively lofty goals. Like they're not in it to lose 40 to 70 pounds. They're in it to lose more like 10 to 20 pounds. Okay. So, and usually they've got relatively decent lifestyles. So just a few minor changes works really well. And it's like revolutionary for them. Now, so that's the first group, which is the keep it simple group. Okay. The next group is the maximum complexity group, right? And the maximum complexity group, they want or need all the details. They need all the meal timing. They need all the extras. They need all the macros. They need all the calories, all that kind of stuff. They really need the details down to a science. Now, in that group, there's probably two people as well. First type of people is those who need all the details. So like I also, while I work with a lot of regular folk, just, for general fat loss, I actually do a lot of contest prep clients as well. So I have 3 clients prepping right now for bodybuilding shows at the end of the year. I do a lot for those people. They need a certain degree of complexity, not massively so, but they need a certain degree of complexity. And that will lend itself particularly closer to the show date with a lot of minor details, which they need to pay attention to on a weekly basis and even on a daily basis, like daily fluctuations in various meals and right down to electrolytes and fiber intake and all that kind of stuff, like really, really detail oriented. So those are examples of people who actually need that. Now, there is another subsect of people who want the details. This is really weird. Now, in my experience, like it actually helps them to make more progress the more details you give them. So if I say to this group of people, okay, you need to eat, 4 meals a day, never 3 or 5, and your last meal on the day has got to be at this particular time. You've got to have this set number of carbs, this set number of protein, all that kind of stuff, right? They will love that. It gives them structure. It gives them something to shoot for. It gives them something concrete. They do really well with that. It's really interesting. And it's not because of the techniques themselves, but it's simply because it increases their adherence. That's really key to note. So none of these details are improving overall results because of the details in and of themselves. They're improving overall results due to increased adherence to the overall program, right? So it's all psychological is what I'm trying to say. Now, in my experience, those type of people, they tend to be your MyFitnessPal acolytes. They will do the program, and they'll do it to perfection, but the success rarely lasts. Like I know very few people who have managed to do the whole MyFitnessPal thing for 5 or 10 plus years, and every single day. But those are essentially the time people who want all the complexity. They want to know the protein, they want to know the calories, all that kind of stuff. They want to know everything, all the details, the number of meals per day, the meal timing, all that kind of stuff, right? But they typically don't last. They'll maybe get a result and then they'll just blow back up again, throw MyFitnessPal out the window, unsubscribe, all that kind of stuff. So 2 groups of people. First group of people is keeping it simple. Second group of people, they get all the details. They get all the complexity. Now, within that group of people, you've got some who need it. You've got some who just want it and temporarily respond better to it. It's important as a summary to know who you are, know yourself, know which one you are. Okay. If you are that type of person who works better with all the details, there may be something in your brain which responds to placebo. Now, we know now from research on placebo, it's a real concept. There are people who are genetically inclined to be more, who get more into placebo, who get more out of placebo. It's really weird. But placebo is, your susceptibility to placebo is almost genetic. We know that now. It's crazy. So it's not like we can blame people for that, So you've got to know yourself. Now, the bottom line to all of this is like, what's the practical takeaway for you guys? Practical takeaway is, first thing, as I always say with my videos, if it's not working, then you got to change something. All right. This is when, say let's go with the diet example. Let's say if somebody's diet is not working, they're trying to do a more intuitive, relaxed approach. Let's say if that's not working, this is when I might use MyFitnessPal for a week or so, say, at week 6 or week 7, when they've had a plateau and they're like, okay, I'm not losing any weight and I don't know why. That's when I might implement MyFitnessPal, or I might implement more strategies like fasting or even low carb to a certain extent. I don't do much of that, but fasting certainly, and MyFitnessPal, calorie counting, all that kind of stuff. I might implement those as more detail-oriented approaches. So know yourself. If it's not working, implement a change. And that might mean going up in complexity. And lastly, if it is working, don't change it. Just because something looks new and fancy. And this also applies to training as well. In fact, all of this entire video, while I phrased it around diet, it all applies to training as well. You want to be as complex as you need to get your results and no more. And I think some very clever person, Einstein, may have said something similar to that at some point or another, right? So, all right, folks, I'm going to call it there, and I'll speak to you in the next video. Take it easy.